Hi, I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
And this is NewsRap, live at 5.
Another Friday. Here we go.
Here we go.
Buckle up.
You know, this week, we actually got some feedback.
Okay.
From our viewers.
And that's always good?
Yes. Well, and I want to talk about that a little bit. Because some of the feedback that we got said that we talked about Donald Trump too much.
Too much Trump.
Too much Trump. So, I want to have a little bit of a conversation with you guys about this. We are going to keep talking about Donald Trump. Now, we're not going to do that because it's ratings. We're not going to do that because it's entertaining.
We're not trying to shove it down your throat.
I am in one way. I am in one way.
I know what you mean, but that's not the phrase. I don't think that's the proper phrase for it. But continue.
Okay. I need you to understand that Donald Trump is not the new normal. I need you to understand that Donald Trump is a major event in the history of this country, not just another president of the United States.
And it's something you need to pay attention to.
That's right.
No matter how much you see it, no matter how bored or upset you get about the coverage,
Exactly.
It's something you need to look at and make up your own mind about. Educate yourself.
Yes, you do need to educate yourself, and we're here to try to help that process. That's why we talk about Donald Trump. Andre is a journalist. I'm a political science major. I've been a political science professor.
Former candidate.
So the fact is that what we're trying to tell you is that if you turn away, if you do not understand how destructive this man is to the very fabric of our society.
That's right.
And if we allow you to do that, then we haven't done our job.
Right. And understand, during Watergate, that's what you got on TV, 24/7.
Very true.
You didn't come up in 68, 69 and go, wow, when are they going to stop showing those men on the moon?
Right.
It just did not work that way.
Right. But we're not in a reality show, folks.
That's right.
We're not living in a reality show. And, and sometimes when I see the media giggle or laugh about some of the ridiculous things that we see, I can't laugh about it because I know that what we're witnessing is the kind of erosion of democracy, the erosion of our Constitution, the erosion of our values.
And our rights.
That's exactly right. At a level that we have never seen before, and that has only happened a few times in history, and only in countries that ultimately ended up with authoritarian dictatorships.
Yep. Now is the time to educate yourselves, and now is the time for us to talk about how we stop this.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop at the level of the White House. It used to be, we had this thing in school that we called socialization. Mm-hmm. And it became a very bad word, right? Because socialization was kind of viewed as brainwashing, right? That we went to school and we learned how to be good citizens.
And you said that pledge every day.
And you said the
knee.
pledge, and we were socialized, right? But now the pendulum has swung
completely.
Completely.
It's hitting the wall on the other side.
So now when you go to school, you don't necessarily learn what it means to be a citizen. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's not easy, folks. Being a citizen in a democracy is a responsibility. It's not a privilege. It is a responsibility.
Yep. Your freedom is not free. And what it comes back to is, as we go back to school, this is all the stuff that wasn't in your history book. This is all the stuff you didn't learn, whatever school district you went to. Now you have to get that education yourself.
Yeah.
Now you have to figure out yourself what this means, what's going on. It's dangerous. It's scary. And you really don't want us, even though you may think you do, to stop talking about this and for this to go away. That doesn't mean that there's not other things we can talk about.
And we will.
And we will. But this right here can't go away right now.
No. And it's probably not going to be able to go away until he's either gone, locked up, in a loony bin, impeached. I have a whole list of
or all
ways
of the above
that we might be able to use to get rid of him. But you have to understand how destructive he is. And if you don't believe that he's destructive, read some history.
Yep.
Do some studying. And by the way, get involved. I mean, this last Tuesday, we saw a 14-year-old run for governor.
That's right. That's right.
And maybe that was a little too high a level to start at. But
that's involvement.
But it's involvement. You know, Ocasio-Cortez never thought she would go into politics. It's involvement. And you can get involved. You know that you can go to a city council meeting and talk.
At any given, or you can run.
Or you can run.
If you do live within the city limits.
That's right. And as a matter of fact, why don't we, you have 7 council members in this lovely city.
That you can reach out to at all times.
And a mayor. And there's our map. We can show some pictures. Our mayor is Terry Tornick.
Now understand,
that's our mayor.
All of these people are completely accessible to the public.
Yes.
Whether it's at council meetings, whether it's through their field reps, through social media.
That's right.
But you can make your voice heard in this city at any given point. Pasadena is a very, very rare indeed, because this is one of the few places where you could call one of these people and they will go, let's have lunch. Mm-hmm. And actually return that call and take an interest in what you are saying.
That's right. That's right. And it's a good place to start to learn.
Yep.
You start to learn about why aren't we solving the housing problem in this city.
And I'm going to go a step further. You can go to the Ninth Circuit, which is right here in Pasadena. And we all hear about the Ninth Circuit on the news all the time.
That's right.
The Ninth
It's
Circuit
on
made
Grand
this
Avenue.
decision, that decision on Grand Avenue. That's the big place when you're coming into town off the 134 that used to be the hotel. Mm-hmm. Look to your right when you're coming across the Colorado Bridge. Go there, get informed, get involved, see what they're talking about. Protests outside there.
That's right. There was just a Ninth Circuit decision just a few days ago or a week ago.
There was, and I'm trying to remember what the protest was about. And there's so much has happened. In my world, 3 weeks ago, is 1,000 extra stories in an eternity.
Well, I believe it was it again about the travel ban?
It was about the travel ban.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And the wall.
And the wall, that's right.
So, we complain about these things, we're concerned about these things, but that's your chance to go get involved and actually listen to what's going on. So you are in the center of the universe when it comes to these things if you're in Pasadena. That's how I look at it 5 days a week when I'm covering this city. It's the center of the universe. There's stuff going on at the Ninth Circuit. There's stuff going on at the council. And there's stuff going on even at Pasadena Media that would allow you to make your voice heard, just like Barry and I do.
Absolutely. You can do a show here.
Yeah. And you could do a show saying, hey, there's too much
That's
truck.
what the Arroyo Channel is about, by the way. The reason the Arroyo Channel exists is for free speech.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Public access became actually a governmentally blessed concept.
Mm-hmm. For those who wouldn't have a chance.
Back in the 1960s.
For the people who the courts ruled that there were some people who didn't have a chance to make their voice heard.
Right.
And here we are. People can take advantage of all kind of different avenues now.
Right. And of course, vote.
Always.
Go vote.
Not just for your president or your congressman, but at the city council level.
Right.
This is where you can make the most change, is right here in your own backyard at home. Absolutely.
And you can also get involved with our conversation right here, and you do that by calling 626-794-8585.
There you go.
And we'll look forward to having you as part of this conversation. So talking about the erosion of our democracy, Andre.
Our representative republic?
Our representative republic.
Okay.
Where people are supposed to have free speech.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at what happened couple of days ago.
The magic wall.
I'd like to begin by reading a statement from the President. As the head of the executive branch and commander-in-chief, I have a unique constitutional responsibility to protect the nation's classified information, including by controlling access to it. Today, in fulfilling that responsibility, I've decided to revoke the security clearance of John Brennan, former director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Historically, former heads of intelligence and law enforcement agencies have been allowed to retain access to classified information after their government service so that they can consult with their successors regarding matters about which they may have special insights and as a professional courtesy.
Now, we're old enough to remember something called the enemies list.
That's right.
And the enemies list was created by a president, Richard Nixon.
Yep.
When he thought that people were disagreeing with him, disagreeing with his policies, out to wreck his administration.
Or people who were a threat to him.
Or people who were a threat to him. And that's also a very good friend of Trump's. His man named Roy Cohn, the lawyer for McCarthy.
Okay.
And
so that's a Trump-McCarthy connection.
That's a Trump-McCarthy collection.
And I wasn't aware of that one.
Well, it's a McCarthy-Cohn. Actually, he was the lawyer for, not McCarthy, but for the Senate committee at that time. So it's Cohn, it's McCarthy. Nixon was also part of that.
I did know that.
He was a lawyer
yes,
as well during the McCarthy hearings. So they all knew each other, and then Trump got to know Cohn. And has frequently said that, Cohn is the kind of lawyer that, he would want.
Well, God bless him.
And now he has a different Cohen,
right.
Michael Cohen, who apparently was like Roy Cohn. But
who may be in more trouble after the revelation.
These are the kinds of people that Trump admires.
And surrounds himself with. That's always something that I do when the president comes in office. I begin to you get a year and a half of the election, the campaign cycle. Then when the president comes into office, I began to look at the people he's surrounding himself with. And that's how you kind of get to see, okay, well, who's that guy? What else has he been involved in? Don't just look at the president. Look at the president's circle. Right. And then you can kind of get an idea, just like with this president. Everybody in the circle, or a lot of them, they go back to Russia. And you kind of start to go, okay, it's no accident that all of these pieces came together. Mm-hmm. The same with Nixon. The same with Obama. These things are not flukes, I guess is my point.
No, of course not. And, people pick those people who they're most comfortable with. Right. Obama happened to have been comfortable with some really smart people.
Yeah. And some people who would disagree with him.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what he valued.
And see, I don't like people who won't associate with people who will tell them they're wrong, mm-hmm. or that they just don't agree with them.
That's right.
Because then, if you are in a position of authority, if you are a teacher, if you are a coach, an editor, a president, those are all positions of power, and that becomes very, very dangerous when you can't hear or consider going in a different direction mm-hmm. than the one that you've planned for yourself. But we were talking about security clearances.
Yes, we were. So, do you care? I'm just asking the basic question. Do you care that John Brennan lost his security clearance?
Yes, 2 reasons.
Why?
First reason, I think it puts us in danger, even more danger, because already we have a president that does not listen, that I'm not completely convinced takes national security seriously. And the Brennans and the people who have been there in the past, these are people who could be advisors if we did have something really bad happen.
Yeah.
By removing them, we lessen that chance of this president ever listening to anybody who would say you're going in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. Second reason is this is an attempt, or maybe even a successful attempt, at violating his First Amendment rights.
Well, of course.
And I keep saying that the scariest thing about Trump is his intentions of eroding the First Amendment and taking away big parts of it. And I think that this comes back to that again, because you know what? Here's a guy who's complaining about him. And the most powerful men in the world, and as we know, the First Amendment is about the government's ability to censor speech. It's not about your boss. It's not about NewsRap. It's not about Facebook. It's about the government. And here we have the U.S. government, through the president, going, I am going to take away or take a shot at silencing you.
How did Susan Rice get in that list?
I don't know. I looked at when I heard the list, and then I was shaking my head at, why does Jared Kushner still have his? Why does Michael Flynn have his? I mean, there are people who shouldn't have them that have them, and then there are consequently people who are about to lose them, if the list is correct, who I have no idea why they're there.
Well, this was an enemies list. It's very, very clear that it's an enemies list, and instead of going after their tax returns, which is what Nixon did, he sicked the IRS on them, instead of doing that, he's going after their security clearances. But it's still a symbolic act that says to them, shut up. And it's not going to work, but that's what it's trying to say.
Could any of these people, and this is something that just came to me now, could any of the people on the list be potential witnesses or people who've talked to Mueller?
Certainly McCabe.
Yeah, so now you get to even possible.
Well, yes, Comey, McCabe.
Brennan may have been asked about something.
It could be.
So now we even get to the point of that it's not just an enemies list. God, there's a lot of.
I know, and let's talk about what he did today, not quite related to the security clearances. There is an ongoing trial that has gone to the jury. And the number one rule that you learn when a case is with a jury and you have a public forum is you don't talk about the case.
Stay away.
So what happened today? He goes out.
The case.
He says it's sad.
Yep.
He says that Manafort is a good person. Now look.
Great guy.
These are not sequestered jurors.
No.
Now what that means is they're not locked up somewhere, right? They're not locked up with no TV.
They have access to social media.
They have access to social media.
And TV.
And other people.
Yeah.
And in fact, they adjourned at what, 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock East Coast time today because one of them had a social event.
That's right.
So that person, that juror, could be exposed to the president's comments by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
So what has he done? You see, you have to understand. He's gone after the media. In other words, now there are two kinds of news. There's real news, and real news is anything that praises Donald Trump.
Yeah, so Omarosa was real news for a long time because she said nice things about him.
Exactly. And then there's fake news, which is the real news. And that's us.
Yeah. We're enemies
That's
of the
when we
state.
look things up and we tell you what is actually happening.
Right.
And it's corroborated. Corroborated means that more than one person has said it, right?
And this attempt to hurt the media has been successful.
It has been successful.
Because there are a lot of people now who believe this guy when he says that's fake news. There are a lot of people now, polls show, that do not trust the media.
Right. He's also attempting to erode trust in the judiciary.
Attacking
That's
judges.
very, very dangerous.
Yep.
He's attacking judges. He did that when the Hispanic judge, and he said he can't be fair. Why? Because he was Hispanic.
Right.
That was the only reason. And now he's going after legitimate investigations. Whatever you think of the Russia investigation, I mean, the Manafort trial had thousands of documents.
Yeah, thousands and thousands. And what's amazing is you just said that he respects Cohn when we showed the McCarthy image. Well, that was a legitimate witch hunt.
That
was a legitimate witch hunt. Yeah. But this is a real investigation, which he says is a witch hunt.
But it all goes to this erosion of the things that we have learned to believe in. A free press, an independent judiciary.
The things you depend on.
That's right.
Not believe in. You depend on that.
And those are the checks on the president, because there are very few constitutional checks on the president. The presidency has acquired a great deal of power since it was created.
Right. Well, the president's the most powerful man in the world. But you know what? The problem here is that you talked about checks and balances. Well, we know that the checks on the presidency in our country are Congress and the Supreme Court.
That's right.
And although Congress came out and the Senate passed a resolution that the press is not the enemy of the state. Well, rah-rah's resolution, okay. But it's good they did something. But the checks and balances have fallen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Congress that's supposed to hold him in check and put him in place when he gets out of line.
That's right.
And Congress is doing absolutely nothing to do that. I mean, has Mitch McConnell or Paul Ryan said anything about these security clearances? I mean, Paul Ryan said he thought he was trolling.
He thought he was trolling. But has he said anything since then?
Has he said anything since it happened?
That's right.
No.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Not at all.
No.
So pretty much he's hanging out somewhere thinking about when he's no longer the Speaker of the House.
I know. We've got some things rolling there, but I can't tell what they are, so I'm going to wait for someone to tell us if there's something
the big
that
voice
we need to know.
Will come through.
Because I'm seeing comments, I'm seeing some things, but I have no idea what they are.
The big booming voice will come
I
through
can't see that
probably
far.
at any moment.
Well, you want us not to talk about Donald Trump. Let's give them a little non-Donald Trump, shall we?
Go for it.
We had a sad event in our lives, in all of our lives. But the way we have to view it is not with sadness, but with celebration of a life. And that life belonged to an incredible talent, an incredible force, not only in music, but in society.
Activism.
And that was Aretha Franklin, who passed away at the age of 76.
Now, were you a big fan?
Yes.
Of Aretha Franklin?
Yes.
Tell me what her music meant to you.
I think Aretha Franklin, as a white guy, right?
Hadn't noticed.
Yeah, you should. But as a white guy, Aretha Franklin showed me the power of soul probably more than any other artist.
Okay.
And when Respect came out,
big moment. Big.
Such a strong song and such a meaningful song, which really hadn't existed. That kind of song hadn't existed.
And we're going to go to the phone in a second, but I'm going to say
we do have a
that
caller.
Song gave a lot of people voice that did not use their voice before.
That's right.
Aaron, are you there?
Aaron?
What I was saying is that
Maybe not.
As they cue that up, is that song, it became a mantra during the Civil Rights Movement. And she began to travel with Martin Luther King.
And the women's movement.
And the women's movement. And it's come back around several times.
Yes.
Over and over and over. And I mean, it's one of those things that shows how art can impact society. I have a version of her doing Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Oh, I've never heard that.
And first off, I think that's one of the greatest songs ever written anyway. And she just kills it. It is so amazing. I mean, I'm shocked that this woman didn't win a Pulitzer for music, because the compositions and what she could do with a note was just absolutely phenomenal.
Is there a Pulitzer for music?
There is.
I didn't know.
There is.
Who has won it before?
A rapper actually won it, I think, last year.
Because I know there is for shows.
Yep.
I mean, I know.
I didn't know that there
plays.
was one for shows until I looked
plays.
yesterday. I didn't know that there was one for plays.
Yeah.
Because I think Fences won it, which is one of my favorite plays.
Hamilton won it.
And Hamilton, I knew that won it.
Yeah.
But I don't think she got the recognition at that level that she deserved. I think that she's an icon, but I think that at the first woman in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nobody will ever impact at that level ever again. I don't think.
It's remarkable because I mean I've always loved soul, and I've loved Motown, and I loved the Philly sound and all of that. But yeah, she had a power, an emotional power that I felt was so much stronger
The ability
than
to
anything
connect.
else. And A Natural Woman for me
God.
is just an extraordinary song. I was listening to Carole King talk about the fact that she wrote it for Aretha
Really?
Franklin. She hadn't written it, and they came to her from Atlantic, and they said, "We want you to write a song." And she and Jerry Goffin sat down and wrote it virtually in a day. And that was amazing.
And look what you did with that.
Exactly.
Again, I mean, she just had that
Exactly.
ability to connect, not to an audience, but to society, to the people.
That's
to
right.
the masses.
Well, we're just about done. We're going to continue for a few minutes
think we're
on
gonna let-
Facebook after we're off
I
live.
think we're going to let Aretha take us out.
We are absolutely going to let Aretha take us out. I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
This has been NewsRap. Listen to the Queen of Soul.
All right.
Changing, changing.